of things to discuss. You and I have been a lot of places since the last time we got together. Man, Alex, what are we talking about today? We were most recently together at an event called the Velocity Invitational down at Laguna Seca in Monterey. I was lucky enough to drive a car there. Bring It Further was a small sponsor of the event. You came down with your fam and we're hanging out. A lot of stuff online and on Instagram, social media about it. So would encourage people to check it out. A lot of amazing cars. McLaren Formula One was there, as they were 2 years ago. The feature kind of honored guest was Mario Andretti. Man, he drove, I don't know if it was a new F1 car, but maybe like a 14 or 15. He did some exhibition laps and he wasn't a goober. He was going fast. And that guy's 82 years old, about to be 83.
Unbelievable.
I mean, incredible.
From what I understand, he still rips around in that two-seat Indy car. He's like didn't he flip one of his son's Indy cars upside down about 10 years ago? I mean, I think he still whips it.
Well, more recently, you said you saw him drive his 79, 78, 9.
So this was
special.
I'd love to give Velocity a little bit more. Maybe you can give us a little background on it, because I know you know some of the organizers. Really cool event. We can talk about it a little bit. I thought it was amazing. But it was 4 years ago, because he's Formula One champ in 78. Lotus 79, the ground effects car, was what he drove, the famous John Player special livery. And so in 18, it was the 40th anniversary of his Formula One championship. One of only two Americans to win, I think, Phil Hill being the other in the early 60s in a Ferrari. And he was, I think a lot of owners do these for these cars, right? They want the driver who drove it in period to come back and drive it, give it a little bit of, it wasn't the Historics, because we were hanging out together in the 2018 Historic. So some vintage event.
I think he lives in Pennsylvania, so they're flying out for this stuff. But
he drove it multiple times. I believe I remember, don't quote me on this, that he later broke the transmission in it, and the owner was maybe not very happy. But he was definitely hauling ass in 2018. So he would have been 78 years old at the time. And I was up the corkscrew, and the ground effects car, it's really low. And I remember it coming through the corkscrew, scraping, sparks flying, and every lap he was picking up pace. I think he was supposed to be out for 20 minutes and ended up being out for like 40 minutes or something like that. And by as he picked up the pace, people were literally standing and cheering every time he was coming through the corkscrew. It was awesome.
I mean, seeing him in person. I didn't talk to him, but I was kind of nearby, and he is an amazingly just short person, right? Michael Schumacher's that way a little bit. These larger than life world championship drivers are, obviously race car drivers are not basketball players, but he's 5'1" max, but he hopped in. I don't know how much test laps he had before this event. I can't imagine many, and he was going exceptionally fast. I was very impressed. He's awesome. It's quite something.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. A ton of cool cars at that event. 250 250 short wheelbase, a couple of those, 250 TRs. There was a GTO going around the track. So what do you know exactly what McLaren has some association with this, because there are a lot of McLarens there, not just the modern Formula One car.
Yeah, there are some people that are friends of the organizer that are McLaren dealers, so I'm sure they have an in with some McLaren people. Zach Brown, who's the CEO for McLaren Racing, head of McLaren F1, is a fan of the event. He was actually driving a Holden V8 supercar in my group, and he was a pro driver, I think, for 10 or 15 years before he became the boss at McLaren, and still can wheel, still can get around the track pretty quickly. Next year, I think, is McLaren's, there's some sort of 60th anniversary happening. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, they bring a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of resources, multiple cars. Mika Hakkinen is kind of their, racing brand ambassador. He was whipping around.
F1s, there were two. There's a gray and a red McLaren F1 sitting in the paddock. Only one I've ever seen in person.
And then they had like an older, like 90s F1 car.
I don't know if I saw it. Maybe I saw it sitting in the paddock.
I don't think that thing was geared properly. It looked like it was
geared for Spa or something like that.
It seemed like it was not right, but it was still going plenty fast.
It was an amazing assemblage of cars. And the thing that I liked the most that they did was they didn't have everyone park their transporters in the paddock. So the paddock just had tents and all the cars were there. It felt a lot more approachable. There was a lot more space.
Yeah.
Cool displays in the paddock. I wish the Historics did it that way. It was my first time. You mentioned I brought my family. It was the first time my wife or any of my kids had been to a race, and I think it was a great event to take them to because of the approachability of it. And it wasn't, at the historic, sometimes you can barely move around, can't see anything. It's so packed and all. It's mainly transporters. That's mainly what you see, with an occasional cool race car peeking out between them. So this was a great layout. And the way they had the pit or the track entrance exit right in the middle of the paddock was really cool. The grid was right in the middle of the paddock.
Yeah, so the paddock layout isn't like normal US vintage events. They park all the cars together and all the transporters are a totally different side of the paddock. As Alex said, the pre-grid, as it were, is in the paddock. They don't do the hot pit like they do in Monterey or elsewhere, which is great because the other way it's super restrictive. The average attendee can't go into the hot pit and be next to the cars when they're firing up their engines, get ready to go out on track. This is the opposite. Anyone can walk around, check them out. Drivers are in their suited up, ready to go. So it's definitely different energy and super cool. So, but man, then I was just thinking about Mario Andretti, watching this guy at 83 years old go turning 1 minute 10-second lap times, and obviously he's had such a storied career. But I didn't even realize half the stuff he had done. I totally forgot he drove a GT40 at Le Mans in 1966. Totally forgot about that. Here's a trivia question for you, Alex.
All right, let's see if I can get it.
Andretti is one of only 2 drivers to have won races in F1, IndyCar, World Sports Car, so sports cars, Le Mans, stuff like that, and NASCAR. Who is the other?
It's not Foyt, because Foyt didn't drive F1. Is F1 included in that?
Very good guess. It is not Foyt.
Gurney?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And you're talking about short drivers. He's a tall driver, one of the rare tall drivers, Gurney Bubble.
Correct. Well done, Alex.
Gurney won, but Gurney won Le Mans and Mario didn't. And he was trying as late as the 2000s. He was driving a Panos. I remember that because it's the one thing he didn't win, right? He's won the 500. He's won a Formula One championship, which Gurney never did. But Gurney won Formula One races. I believe Gurney's also the only guy to ever win in his own car that he built in the Eagle. But he also won in that crappy little Porsche Formula One car that I like so much.
That was the other thing that jumped off the page. Who knew that Mario ran Le Mans in 2000? I thought he was
totally
retired, right?
Totally. I think because that's the thing he was chasing, right? That's the thing he still needed to win. I think he's driven in it a bunch of times. I just don't think he ever won it. He's won NASCAR races. He never won a NASCAR championship. He certainly won NASCAR races.
Won races. I mean, obviously he ran Indy cars. I forgot he ran so late. Like I think of like the golden era of Indy cars as the Zanardi pass on Brian Herta, which was 1996. Mm-hmm. Mario retired 94, so he was definitely in that range. So it's pretty neat.
And he, my circle track buddies would kill me for not being better versed on this kind of stuff. But I mean, his son, maybe his son still is running a IndyCar team, and he was out testing those things until quite recently. Michael
was an accomplished driver. Actually, another thing I forgot was they co-drove a Porsche 962 the Miller High Life 962. Shout out to Randy, would love that
the
car.
gold car, right? The gold car?
Correct.
Yeah.
Gold Miller High Life.
Champagne of beers, baby. Yeah. Oh man. That was at Le Mans in the late 80s, something like that?
89.
Amazing.
Precisely right.
Amazing. That was father-son team up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Bet they wish they'd won that one.
So the Velocity was awesome. I got to drive my friend Ryan Turry, who was the general manager of Velocity, his 2001 Porsche 911 Cup car, which was definitely a step up for me. Definitely the most serious car I've driven. My first real experience with kind of real racing slicks, which are only $3,000 a set. So I learned about moving up on the tighter budget ladder, a little more expensive than buying Toyos for your Spec Miata. But
you told me it was all as fast as you ever want to go. Is that right?
It was, then you get used to it a little bit. Maybe I want to go a little faster, but yeah, I definitely don't need to go, nor do I think I could drive around in a Formula One car at any sort of admirable speed.
Traction control on that car?
The Cup car?
Yeah.
No traction control, but ABS brakes. So 996 got you ABS and 6-speed proper 3-pedal manual. 997 was sequential, no ABS. I learned from some of the guys there that I guess they think the sequential can be kind of tricky to operate properly. So some of those guys convert to paddle.
Wow.
And I was like, why are you admitting that? Like, that doesn't sound tight.
Wait, so your car the car you were driving has a normal H pattern 6-speed in it.
Correct.
Wow, and you have to clutch in, clutch out normally.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
The
that's
clutch
awesome.
is definitely like a racing
On-off
flywheel,
switch,
and
yeah.
not on off, but racing clutch and super lightweight flywheel. But yeah, no, you're a lot of shifting. You're using all of second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
do they switch gears for a track like Laguna, or is it one gear set basically for that car?
I was driving my buddy's kind of good, but I mean, kind of clapped out cup car, which is fine.
Sure.
I thought it was 50% chance that thing would
The motor would grenade.
would blow up. But then we were talking to Johann von Oberbeek, who's the Porsche Flying Lizard guy, and he assured me that they die slowly and I shouldn't worry. So I thought that was good.
Is that a direct quote? Die slowly.
They die slowly.
I love
which
that.
is great.
Yeah.
I guess they did. I had some shop helping me out with just track support. I guess they did an oil analysis.
Okay.
And
little Blackstone laboratories.
Yeah, we see those sometimes come through on like E46 M3s and stuff.
I'm naming the only place I've ever heard of it.
I think they thought I was like more serious than I was. I don't really care. It's not my car. Like I'm just trying to drive around, not hit anything.
They talk to you like you know what you're talking about.
And I was like, so yeah, how was that oil analysis? And they're like, it was, we did it. I was like, what was, what are the
What were the findings?
They said, well, there were some findings. Apparently, there was a meaningful amount of bearing material in the oil.
Gotcha.
So what does that mean? Metal shavings in
that
the oil?
That means it's dying slowly.
Yeah. I was like, okay. They're like kind of like tiptoeing around, telling me. I was like, I don't care. They're great.
Yeah. What's the upshot?
If anything, I can say this car's way down on power. So whatever lap time I did, totally. This car is way down on power. Totally. Just take off 5 seconds from whatever it is.
I was giving it all I could. Oh man, that's amazing. Any like kind of notable takeaways from being in a car that fast? I mean, you're a Spec Miata guy. That's like the pace of race car I've driven before. So I mean, this is a whole other level. Did you find it hard to get used to, or were you able to approach the performance limits pretty quickly?
It took me a session to get used to it, but I would say, I mean, ABS brakes is a huge insurance policy,
right?
So that's almost, you're so spoiled with that.
Yeah.
You're just you're going pretty quickly. It goes without saying.
I mean, top of fifth gear, or in fifth, 130, 140, 150 miles an hour on the front straight, something like that.
That car, yeah. I mean, who was telling me that they ran their cup car at Daytona and maxed out in 6th gear at Daytona? Their same car would do 179 is all she got.
That's a lot of speed, though.
So you're probably doing, you're at the top of 5th gear for your brake for turn 2, probably 135, 140. So yeah, I mean, you want to be judicious with passing and stuff when you're going that fast. But no, it's super safe and it was super fun. So
a little faster than an Miata. Well, that's great. It's awesome.
But I could probably run 2 full Spec Miata seasons for what it costs to run that stupid cup car for 30 laps in that event. But
maybe alternate.
C'est la vie. But from one Porsche to another, you were doing a Porsche. You were down at Lufka Gold.
That's right. We're the shirt representing Luft 8.
There you go.
Ocho, baby.
Well, you got in. So my buddy James Longstaff is one of the guys that organizes it. He was actually telling me about the admissions process, and they get something like 800 or 900 applicants and are only able to accept, I don't know what, 250, 300. So you were one of the few that got accepted.
I definitely had the worst car there. There's no doubt about that. But I've got a long history with my car. It's got a bright color. They like to have bright colors.
And what is your car for listeners who don't know what a Porsche legend you are?
Yeah, right. It is a 1976 912E, the injected kind of ignominious return of the 912, the 1 year stopgap between the 914 and the 924. But I was just talking to my son about it today, and I realized we've owned it. My dad bought it when I was in high school in 1999. It was 23 years old, and we've now had it for 23 years. So we've owned it for half its life. And I've put 100,000 miles on it over the last 2 decades. It's got a big motor in it and sports seats, and it's a.
Oh, you got your what motor do you want?
It's a fat performance.
I was gonna say fat performance.
Fat performance. Yeah.
You did that like back in 17.
Yeah, I've had it for quite a few years now. I mean, hot rod motor. It's like 160 horsepower instead of 80 or 90, which was stock. So it's a lot faster than it was. But driven that car a lot. It's kind of an event car, and it's a weird color that not many cars came in. It's called shamrock green. Some people call it ascot green. So it's kind of a bright 70s, not Porsche color. And I think Lufka likes to trade on anyone who likes old Porsches, air-cooled Porsches. They like the bright array, the Skittles colors. So maybe that's why I got in. I always make sure to use my Bring a Trailer email address too.
Probably doesn't hurt.
Doesn't, I don't think
that was your first time, not first time attending, but first time attending as an exhibitor.
No, this car's been in 3 Lufka.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, make room for someone else.
I know. I kind of feel like maybe I should make room for somebody else. Robert drove it one year. That's when I took the BAT Emery Speedster. That car has been to also.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was back again. Our buddy Eli from Auto Car Club had it there. He has a silver hardtop on it now.
Oh, nice.
Looked great.
So how was that show? Was that the Port of Long Beach?
Port of LA, San Pedro. I was kind of hoping it was going to be around all the shipping containers, and it was kind of more a little bit of a parking lot setup. Maybe anything would be a little bit of a letdown after the Universal Studios backlot, which was where it was last time I went. But it was awesome, amazing group of cars. Drove down with our colleague Robbie Pyle and his 67 911S, which was also featured. Our colleague Beck also had his car featured as well.
Wow, we got three BAT
staffers in, and then like a ton of many more this time. I noticed many more BAT kind of alumni. I talked to Felix Holst a little bit, our painter buddy who sells the paintings on BAT. He was awesome. There's lots of beer consumed by all involved, myself included. Really amazing turnout. Tons of different stuff. Rod Emery had a bunch of cars there. Those carbon bodied 993 things were there. I can't remember what they were called. There was one at Velocity too. Gunter Works.
They did some expo laps at Velocity. They were like drifting it. Are they meant to be like?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. They almost don't really look like they belong at a Lufka Cult show because they're so modern looking. I know they're based on the 993, but
and Mr. Guntar, he was. I saw him chatting about the company, and they're kind of good. They're his own personal imagination of what.
Yeah, they had him parked Big Shock next to a Singer or two, right? Mm-hmm. So kind of in the same vein, right? Like, what can you do, budget unlimited, with a 911 air-cooled 911 to make it, as crazy as it could be, as much like a modern supercar as you want.
They had the Gunter car out there with the like 03 WRC Impreza with McRae's kid driving it.
What was this, the Dirtfish car that was like drifting? Yeah, I saw videos of that. I missed that, drifting through the corkscrew and stuff.
Yeah, Dirtfish brought out 6 or 7 rally cars, and they did some expo laps, but were drifting around, and it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I'm sorry I missed that. Not much to say about Luft other than, it's an interesting group of people, a lot of young people, a lot of tattoos, for people who say young people and car culture is dead amongst young people, like they're not going to shows like Radwood or Lufka Cult where there's tons of young people. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a lot of people younger than me. Really cool cars, big showing. My personal fave was a kind of a barn find 904 in red with a Furman 4Cam in it. I guess Rod Emery had just put the motor back in it, found in a barn in the Central Valley, had a California black plate with this last registration sticker from the 80s on it.
Sick. Very sick.
Parked nose to nose with a red Carrera 6.
And big presence from Porsche Motorsport, Porsche Classic there?
It's very hard to tell what cars, how much. It's actually part of the cleverness of it. It's hard to tell where the corporate sponsorship is exactly. They had, actually, one of my favorite things there was Porsche Classic did have a little display, and they had a completely stripped down bare 356 T6 shell that they had cleaned up, but they hadn't fixed all the rust off. So you could see where they rust. You could see all the lead where they put the factory and put lead filler in the body. So that was actually really cool. I spent a lot of time looking at that. There were, Leica cameras was there, and there were some kind of fancy brands, but they're shoved into the corners a little bit. It was mainly about the people and the people who love Porsches, and it's freaking LA, man. So it was sunny and gorgeous weather, and it was a cool place. And maybe the most fun part is when you're coming in and when you're leaving, and there's like 200 air-cooled 911s all idling. You can see the oil smoke in the air and everything. That's like almost the most fun part. And then when everyone's leaving, there's like 400 911s like going off. You see them all on the freeways. I drove almost all the way back to San Luis Obispo in company with a white 914-6, a hot rod 356.
You drove back same day.
Same day.
Sick.
So that's fun. You like kind of run into those people. And in the morning when you're driving out at 6 a.m., you see, oh man, there's a 66 short wheelbase 911. You run into all the other people converging on the same spot, which is really fun.
Amazing. Well, from a successful event to one that was cut short, I was actually all jazzed and ready to go to our last alumni gathering of the year in Newport, Rhode Island, in conjunction with the O'Drain Concours. And I actually had to cancel that a week before, and I was back in California, so I was bummed I couldn't make it. You and a number of other BIT staff from San Francisco, and then a number of other people from elsewhere around the country, Midwest and the East Coast, showed up in Rhode Island on Thursday. And what happened?
Emphasis on the rain in Audrain. Yeah, we got rained out a little bit.
We canceled this.
We canceled it. They canceled their Cars and Coffee the night before it was supposed to happen, and our event was in association with their Cars and Coffee, so we had to cancel too. It was really a bummer. And a lot of people were disappointed. Actually, in our merch room, about 30 feet away from Howard and I, our colleagues are packing up all the shirts. We're going to mail them out to all the folks who we had to cancel on. We feel really bad about it and apologize for that. But it did actually end up kind of raining pretty severely the morning of the event.
But even if we wanted to do it, the park that was hosted in was closed.
The state park was like, do not send people.
Yeah.
Do not come here. We are closed. We will have no staff. So it was basically our hand was forced.
But some people still showed up. Some hardcore
showed up, and we brought out some coffee and donuts. We knew some people wouldn't get the message, so we were there to kind of greet them. But it was basically a couple dozen people huddled under a tent in the pouring rain, just kind of waiting to get out of there. It did clear up later in the day. We were able to go hang out at the museum, which was cool. Couple dozen nut bags drove there. You know, there's a rally for vintage cars around this is in Newport, Rhode Island, around the Newport area, and like 60 cars still did the event in the pouring rain, including a open Model J Duesenberg, a Bizzarini 5300, like some, you know, really interesting cars that went out in the pouring rain and did this.
And you went to the show on Sunday or no?
No, I didn't make it to the show on Sunday, which is too bad because it's at the Breakers, the famous big Vanderbilt mansion. I think one of the biggest mansions of the Gilded Age, right there. Have you been to Newport before?
Never. That's why I wanted to go. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, when I saw the weather report, then saw the post that it was canceled, I was so happy I made the decision. I mean, what a schlep to be turned away, but it's a bummer.
Totally.
It's a bummer for everyone.
The hang with the people we did get to hang with, both our colleagues, but also with like a lot of BAT users and fans. I mean, friends, we met a lot of them. We met some of the Audrain people. Shout out to Ben Mercer. We got to talk to a couple folks there. And so it was still really cool. And the place itself, Newport, was amazing. We had some amazing seafood, great bars. It's very different for a California kid to go to a city that's actually, you know, I mean, it was a bustling city when California was unsettled by Europeans. It was cool. It was really
clam
cool.
chowder and some oysters.
Absolutely, had both. Had some mussels. Became a mussel guy. Never liked mussels before, but now I'm a convert. They were amazing. But anyway, bummer on that one. And it would have been fun to hang. You would have enjoyed it. You would have enjoyed the town, the venue. The museum is really sick. Kind of a bummer. Maybe we'll be able to do it again another year, and the weather will cooperate.
Man, well, so that's kind of a little event update. What else we got, Alec? By the way, we getting beers after this? You around?
100% we're getting beers.
Okay, good.
I was on the verge of cracking one for the podcast, but I decided probably we can wait. I can wait.
We're still in working hours here.
Friday afternoon. We're still 9 minutes to 5 o'clock, so I'll behave myself for a little bit. Let's talk about some stuff on the site, Howard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've I guess one of the reasons it's taken us 3 months to do another podcast is we've been shoveling here every day, working on the auction business. We crested for the first time 800 auctions in a week, which is crazy to think about. If you would ask me a year ago if we'd see 800 in 2022, I probably would have said no chance, but lo and behold, here we are. And thanks to Alex, you and your team, and everyone working every day to make it all happen. The car market's interesting now, right? I mean, it's still super strong, but crazy times in the world. And right, it's whenever someone talks about the market as a single entity, right? They miss a lot of the nuance, and it's not as simple as it's either going up or going down, right? People want to know, is it going up or is it going down? And
it could be doing both at the same time, right?
Depends what you got.
Yep. I mean, we could talk about I have it on my little cheat sheet list here. We can talk about the JDM collection we had in that collection of our first NSXR we've ever auctioned, and that car did really well, right? So there's some stuff that's rare. You're not going to find another one. This one happened to be Brooklyn's Green, which is not a car I even knew existed.
Well,
right?
so I thought the Holy Grail was an Artie edition, but it makes the Holy Grail is NSXR Brooklyn.
Yes, it is the Holy Grail for me. Man, I was drooling over that car, and it did really well. Sold for over 300 grand. Yeah. And so it's like the market's strong there. Find another one of those, right? And a lot of the other cars did well too. We had a part of that collection was whatever that rare spec R32 Skyline was, N1 I think is what it's called.
Yep.
The car did 230 or 240 grand. So a couple great results there. And when you come across that car, it's kind of a one chance purchase, right? So people are going to swing for the fences on those, I think, regardless of what the market is doing.
But yeah, on the creation side, it's challenging, and for buyers and sellers, it's challenging to kind of discern what's going on. And the future is always unknowable and unpredictable to a degree. But we see stuff that like Ford GTs 2018 2020, they're kind of off their peak, still selling strong, but not as strong as they were. BMW Z8s are a little soft, right? Your 993 C4S might be 135 now and not 175.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of the coin, right, like Dodge Demons are still as strong as ever and are have as much momentum as anything. What else? I mean, like late 90s, early 2000s, Diablos still super strong. We're not seeing a huge dip on those. So
well, and we had that Countach this morning that sold, and we
had a similar car, also black, that sold a couple weeks ago that did like 517 today, and the one a couple weeks did 580.
Correct.
And we're pretty similar.
But I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, I remember when we were auctioning our first couple Countaches, they were like 200. They were like 200. We had one that didn't even bid to 200. That was just a couple of years ago. So if you think about even just kind of the medium term, still like your wide body 993s are a great example, right? Our colleague Zach sold one for 75 or 77 grand a couple of years ago, and it seemed like a crazy result. Now they're 2x that.
And it's funny, and we've had some like taking that 993 C2S, C4S, those have shot up in value. We've had some great examples, great results, and now maybe that's coming off the peak a little bit, and now cars that are bidding to prices that would have been astronomical 18 months ago are kind of ho-hum and like, what happened with this?
Totally.
What a disaster this was. And it's like, wow, like this is, this is double what it was worth at the end of 2020. So,
I mean, I work here, so maybe I'm a little overly sensitive to it, but I do try to think about the larger context, right? And it is interesting. There's a human nature piece of this, like how quickly people recalibrate what something is worth. I'm air quoting, listeners can't see that, right? But I still try to remind myself that I actually like a lot of these cars. And so it's actually, I'm perfectly comfortable with values that seem a little bit more approachable on some cars.
It's also like directional and like rate of change, right? Like when gas is going up, like from $3 a gallon, and then it's $5, and oh my God, then it goes to $7, but at $5, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. But then when it goes from $7 back to $5 seems like an oasis, right?
Yep. That's exactly right. It's all comparative. What's the cheapest you ever remember seeing gas as a kid? Do you remember sub $1 gas?
Well, a roundabout way, I follow other podcasts and we stuff about financial markets and other stuff, and was reading about the whole thing going on in the 70s and what oil was doing in the 70s. Oil were like 40x from like 1968 to 80, or don't quote me on that, but something nuts, and then didn't return to it took oil 30 years until 2004 to return to its level that it was at in 1974.
Was that $100 a barrel? $100 a barrel always seems like the that's like the kind of bogey.
Well, it went from like $1 a barrel to like 40 a barrel in the 70s. Wow. And so right, it's crazy. You think things only go up, but it ain't always that way. Man, lowest I've seen gas, maybe $2.50 a gallon.
Oh wow!
Yeah. But like in some remote highway in the
Yeah,
northeast corner of Utah.
I'm 39 years old, and I remember as a kid seeing 99 cents a gallon. So I'm old enough to remember that. It was a price war, like where there's the gas stations on two opposite corners. One had like horse rides, and the other one had a bounce house, and one was 99 cents, and one was like $1.09 or something like that.
You get so screwed in
this was in
places
California,
like the Bay Area, New York. Like gas is sorry, we're not turning this into a podcast about gas prices, but
why not, Howard?
Like in San Francisco, gas is still $7 a gallon.
Yeah,
a lot of places, or at least sixes, and that ain't the case elsewhere.
Well, every state has their own gas taxes, right? Different thing.
And
we have our own refineries too, right? So if a refinery in California goes down, which I heard happened recently, that spikes the prices in your area.
But getting back to cars, I mean, what's always been true is that a superb example, whether it be super original, super low mileage, amazingly restored, some combination of all those things, can do exceptionally well, no matter what kind of macroeconomic environment you're in. So an example of that for me was we had a 70 Challenger RT 426 Hemi, kind of the iconic 70 Challenger that did $500,000, which I mean, the car, we didn't think the car was going to be cheap, but that was a superb result, but deservedly so, because this car kind of ticked all the boxes. And
I was going to ask you about that one. This seemed like a crazy result for me, just in general. What's the color? I mean, the car looks fantastic. What's the color? That color is amazing. That's exactly what you want your Mopar in.
I mean, I think it's Hemi orange, and that's got the 426 Hemi motor, right? 4-speed. And man, is this the car that is that Nash Bridges, or that was a convertible?
Oh man, I'm not up on my Nash Bridges.
Oh,
Nash
man.
Bridges is what? School me on Nash Bridges. Who's the star of Nash Bridges? No, now you got to do it.
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Driving before or after he was driving his Testarossa and the fake Daytona.
Well, the best thing on Nash Bridges is filmed in San Francisco, and so it's like, if you're from SF, it's great cameras of the city. He's cruising around in his.
No man, I need to check that out. Well, hold on. Well, now you got me all fired up on Don Johnson. I want to talk about white suits.
Should we go from the Mario Andretti Wikipedia to the Don Johnson?
Yes, get on Don Johnson. But wait, hold on. Let me name another car that's in the exact same bucket about what you were talking about. That was a 67 Porsche 912 5-speed short wheelbase car, blue.
Oh man, okay, yeah.
No reserve, like kind of unrestored, longtime family owned, 40,000 miles, probably actually the real mileage on the car, and it sold for over $200,000, right? Which has to be close to a 912 record, I'm sure.
So yeah, TLDR, Porsche 912 sold for $200,000, and it was the best color, and it was super original, and same thing, right?
Right. Find another one like that, right? There ain't many left, and especially 912s. Everyone drove the crap out of them, and they're all beat up and rusty. All right, you got D Johnson up there. What do we got going on?
What do you want to know? He's from Flat Creek Township, Missouri.
How old now? 73?
72. Wow.
All right. I was pretty close.
Wait a minute. You don't know about Nash Bridges, but you know his age.
I know about Miami Vice because I've become kind of a Michael Mann devotee. And, he was the guy behind, In the Air Tonight, was it real? Was it real? All that, that kind of changing.
Sonny Crockett, but he won a Golden Globe for that. A lot of people forget.
Yeah, dude.
He was also in Tin Cup for all the golfers.
Oh, that's right. But he's the dick bag in Tin Cup. He's not the hero. His costume. God, Tin Cup is great.
Tin Cup is epic. Tin Cup and Twister. I think we need to go watch
those. I rewatched Twister recently, and it holds up. I fell in love. Tie that one into cars. I fell in love with that was the retro Ram in '92 or '94 when those came out. He had a brand new red long bed extended cab Dodge Ram. Paxton, R.I.P. Paxton.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I was totally wrong. It wasn't he drove a '71 Barracuda convertible in.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I mean, it's in the strike zone for that. So
yeah, good cars for Don Johnson. Have you seen the 06 Michael Mann movie version of Miami Vice, which is almost unwatchable? It's barely a movie except that it's a
recommend or do not recommend.
Highly recommend if you want like ambient, everything's shot at night. It's Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx are Tubbs and Crockett, and they cruise around in a 430 Spider all over Miami, always at night, drinking mojitos. It's amazing, but also barely has a plot. It's an amazing film, though.
What else we got, Alex? We got a Ferrari F40 live. That's
good stuff.
notable. That's notable.
Yeah, very notable. Been a really strong showing in our premium listings recently. Just tons of good stuff. Want to talk about Jose's collection a little bit? He's got a bunch of interesting German cars live, driver source.
Yeah, he's doing the Oktomotorfest collection, which what do we got in there, Alec? We had a few in. He had a 911E soft window.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Not a
nice
car I even knew
turbo.
existed. A long wheelbase 911 soft window Targa, which was not a thing that I knew existed until M. Baum, our buddy Mike Baum, wrote about his soft window 69 911S. This was an E soft window Targa, brown, cocoa brown, really cool color. Some turbos. We had a very low mileage 930 turbo end today, 11,000 miles, something like that.
Yep, black turbo.
Killed it on a low mileage 928 the other day. I saw it too. Automatic S4.
That was a big result.
Over 100 grand, I think.
That was a big result. Got some nice Benzes, 280 SC35 cab, SLR McLaren Roadster, SL65 AMG Black. We sold a number of those. Those are incredible.
Super sick.
Yeah.
We screwed up in the description on that and called it a Roadster. Jose had to correct us because they fixed the hardtop on those. They've got a permanent hardtop instead of the folding hardtop that come on SLs, which is awesome.
Really cool cars, an 84 Alpina B6 2.8, which is just super hyper BMW Alpina dork car, but in the best way. And let's see, is this
I didn't even know about those. I was literally looking at that today. So
it's very cool.
I was asking somebody if that's an M20 based motor because I'm a little bit on the sacrilegious side. I'm not the.
And it's an 84, right? It's an early E30. So it's an E30 body, 2-door.
But with I think it's still the M20 and it's stroked to 2.8 and it's over 200 horsepower. I'm not a huge E30 M3 fan.
This is like 2.8 B6/2. So maybe a version of
I think it's, well, Alpina builds their own motor. So I would guess it's based on the M20, but I'm not exactly sure about that, right? Because the next motor would have been an M30, which is a 3-liter.
But this car has the window sticker from Alpina detailing
sick.
every piece of equipment. It's pretty awesome.
I will take that over an E30 M3 all day. 6 cylinders, man. That's what you want in your BMW. You want a 6. I know that's going to offend people.
And then he's got everything on down to a 79 280E and a BMW Isetta. So something in there for everyone. It's
great stuff and great photography as always from Driver Source. Man, I love their in motion lead shots. They're so fantastic. Oh
man, we need our pal Zach here to let us know what else is going on. But maybe hopefully it won't take us another 3 months to do another one of these. But
that's dependent on you, Howard. But I hope we can do another one. It's always fun.
Awesome. Well, we would love to, again, email us at podcast@. We'd love to hear your questions, suggestions. I'm trying to pull this up, but I'm not going to be able to.
We should try to do we should solicit questions sometimes, Howard. I think it would be, there's so much that you and Zach and I could speak on. People ask us questions all the time at events, and almost anytime I run into somebody, including at Luf Colton at Velocity, they always have questions about how BAT works, and we should solicit those sometime. Do a whole podcast answering people's questions about how it works and what we think about things. And I know there's a lot that the community would like to know.
All right, let's try to do this next week. All right, let's try to get a little cadence going through the end of the year.
Tempo.
Let's close out Q4 on the year strong in the podcasting front.
Love it.
All right, ladies and gents, thanks for listening.